Pirates never had shipyards, naval architects, or rows of craftsmen in neat uniforms. Their vessels were born in chaos, assembled with stolen axes, raw timber, and the kind of ingenuity that only comes from desperation. Yet somehow their ships weren't just seaworthy. They were fast, menacing, and capable of standing toe-to-toe with the greatest navies of the world. How did men without official training create war machines of wood and rope? The answer lies in cunning, theft, and hard-earned knowledge passed from one outlaw crew to another. The first challenge was wood. A ship was nothing without mountains of quality timber, and pirates rarely asked permission before swinging an axe. Midnight raids on coastal forests became standard practice. Crews slipped ashore silently, posted guards with muskets, and worked quickly to bring down towering trees before locals or soldiers could intervene. Timber merchants on the black market also played their part, trading prime lumber to anyone who paid in coin rather than questions. A wink, a bribe, and a barrel of rum were often enough to make suspicious shipments vanish from official records. Each type of wood had a role. Oak was the bruiser, dense, rot-resistant, and perfect for hulls meant to take cannon fire. Pine, lighter and more flexible, formed masts and upper decks where weight mattered. The holy grail of woods was teak, prized for its ability to shrug off water and tropical heat. Few pirates ever bought it. Most got their hands on teak by dismantling captured merchant ships. To a pirate, a seized vessel was more than loot. It was a floating lumberyard stocked with ready-made beams, planks, and nails. Harvesting was brutal work. Trees had to be cut with handsaws, dragged through mud, and hauled on crude carts by sheer muscle. Pirates established temporary camps along coasts to avoid moving heavy logs too far. Once felled, timber needed to season, drying for weeks to prevent warping at sea. Crews in a hurry sometimes built with green wood, only to discover too late that their brand new ship leaked like a sieve. Experienced carpenters could spot weakness in a log at a glance. For them, choosing the wrong tree was as deadly as choosing the wrong weapon. Construction began with the keel, the backbone of the ship. If it wasn't straight, the vessel was doomed before it touched water. Frames were carved next, the rib-like structures that gave the hull its curves. Pirates lacked blueprints but had a remarkable sense of proportion. By eye and memory they shaped ribs with axes and adzes, learning through scars and failures how to balance speed against stability. Planking came after, either overlapped like shingles or fitted flush for smoother movement through the sea. To bend timber into curves, pirates used makeshift steam pits, burying wood in heated sand or pouring boiling water over it until it bent to their will. The sheer scale was staggering. Even a modest sloop consumed dozens of full-grown trees, while larger vessels devoured entire groves. Construction often took place on sloping beaches, where gravity would help roll the ship into the sea at launch. Pirates calculated tide levels carefully. Too shallow, and their prized vessel would never leave land. But a hull meant nothing if water seeped in. Waterproofing was a matter of life and death. Pirates packed every seam with oakum, fibers soaked in pitch or tar, and hammered it deep using caulking irons. The tar was sticky, hot, and miserable to work with, but it sealed the vessel against the relentless ocean. When supplies ran short, improvisation took over. Fat from butchered animals, beeswax, or pine sap became emergency sealants. Some even smeared clay mixed with hair into cracks. Crude, but sometimes effective. For extra protection, crews nailed sacrificial planks to the hull or, if they were lucky, covered it with copper stripped from captured ships, the ultimate defense against sea worms and rot. Masts were next. A single flawless pine tree made an ideal mainmast, but when those weren't available, pirates joined several sections together with iron bands and rope. Standing rigging held these giants upright, while running rigging controlled the sails. A single medium ship required miles of rope, all treated with tar to resist salt water. Neglect one frayed line, and the whole rig could come crashing down in a storm. Sail-making was an art of its own. Canvas sails were stitched by hand, reinforced at every edge, and endlessly repaired when torn. A good sailmaker was as important as a good gunner. Without sails, even the fiercest pirate ship became a helpless raft. Once the ship could move, it had to fight. Pirates tore up merchant decks and rebuilt them with reinforced beams to handle the recoil of cannons. Gun ports were cut with care. Too many, and the hull weakened. Too few, and the ship lacked teeth. Cannons came in all sizes, some heavy enough to splinter enemy hulls, others small swivels that blasted grape shot across decks. These weapons were chained down with iron and heavy rope, for a loose cannon wasn't just a saying, it could crush men and tear through a ship during battle. Pirates added their own modifications. Hidden compartments stored stolen treasure, Boarding planks and grappling hooks turned sea battles into bloody melees. Raised decks gave commanders vantage points during combat, while black-painted hulls and fluttering Jolly Rogers made the ship itself a weapon of fear. Many merchant crews surrendered at the mere sight of such a vessel, but even the most terrifying ship was useless without discipline. Pirate crews functioned as floating communities, each man assigned a role: boatswain, carpenter, cook, gunner. Quartermasters handled supplies and kept peace between captain and crew. Written articles set the rules for plunder, ensuring no man felt cheated after a successful raid. Food mattered as much as firepower. A hungry crew was a mutinous one. Maintenance was endless. Saltwater gnawed at wood, sails shredded in storms, and ropes weakened daily. Calm seas meant repair time, scraping barnacles from the hull, patching sails, reapplying tar and replacing rotten planks. Tools were guarded like treasure. A missing hammer could spell disaster if a storm tore through the rigging mid-ocean. Spare timber, rope, and canvas were stored aboard at all times, for pirates couldn't stroll into a port for replacements. Survival depended on self-reliance. By the time a pirate ship left the shore, it wasn't just wood and rope. It was the product of theft, sweat, skill, and ruthless efficiency. Built in secret, armed for terror, and maintained by men who had no choice but to succeed, these ships became legends. They were floating symbols of defiance, carrying their crews across oceans where law ended and the black flag ruled.